And Ken Bell. Bell is on the left. Rookie out of Boston College. Ready to receive. Ken Bell from the 1. Fumble at the 25, and I believe the Broncos get it at the 27-yard line. Alertly there is Hackett, the backup tight end, number 85, Joey Hackett.
I look at it again. That ball bounced out of that. It could have been a big break for the Steelers. Bell hit very hard. And fortunately for the Broncos, they had a sure-handed receiver type there to cover it in Hackett.
So Denver, 1st and 10. From the 27-yard line. Bronx on top. 7-0. Sammy Winder for a gain of about 3 out to the 30. And it'll be 2nd down, 7.
Denver coming right back with what worked for them in the 2nd quarter, and that is the ground game featuring Winder. Again, coaches both telling us before the game, we've got to get the running game going. You get it going, and you have a tremendous edge because you can move the ball, keep control of the game, and come with a play-action pass if you want to.
2nd and 7, Winder in motion. Elway looks toward Wilhite, and then a one-handed catch by Watson. Out to the 37-yard line. He now moves past Haven Moses into number 3 on the Bronco all-time receiving list behind Lionel Taylor and Riley Odoms.
Isn't it amazing? Watson had dropped one earlier deep downfield. One-hands this one, pulls it in, and makes a tremendous catch out of it. Gets the 1st down, but sometimes the easy ones are the difficult ones. He doesn't drop many, I can tell you that. He came up as a free agent 8 years ago, and he has been spectacular.
4 catches for him tonight on the ground, and straight up the middle goes Sammy Winder for a gain of a couple. To the 40, it'll be 2nd down, 8. And there are the numbers for the first 30 minutes.
Of course, Denver with 152 yards to 66 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Denver picking up a lot of that on their scoring drive that led to their 21-yard touchdown pass, Elway to Watson. The 1 turnover in the game. Steelers 1 scoring opportunity, a long field goal attempt by Gary Anderson that was long enough but wide.
2nd and 8 from the 40-yard line. Elway throwing. Wilhite. And a penalty flag is thrown as he goes out of bounds at the 46-yard line.
Taken out of bounds by
Referee tonight, Bob McElwee. And the call going against Pittsburgh. Well, the crowd with its ups and its downs tonight, it is so quiet here right now, relatively speaking, and then there are those bursts normally for the defense. They've had very little to cheer about offensively tonight. The options are now being explained to Elway here. The play took it out to the 45-yard line.
Number 57 defense, 5 yards, automatic 1st down.
That contact was made by Mike Merriweather beyond the 5 yards in which he is allowed to harass the receiver. And there's Merriweather in on the tackle. For the life of me, I don't know what that was. They said illegal contact. Merriweather came into the play late, unless it was indeed on Robin Cole, and they just give you the wrong number.
It amounts to a 1st down for Denver from the 45-yard line. Winder on a draw play. Takes it out to the 48. He is stopped there by Gary Dunn, the man in the middle out of the University of Miami. Do you know there are 23 former Hurricanes currently playing in the NFL, and 10 of them are defensive linemen. And both men tonight, Reuben Carter, and there's Campbell, who's shaking his head, but he is warming up on the side. But you've got the 2 nose tackles in there tonight. Jim Burt would be another from Miami of the New York Giants, as the pass is caught at the 46-yard line by Steve Watson, but he is shy of the 1st down. Harvey Clayton providing the coverage.
Another fine catch by Watson, and we'll put Denver into short yardage. We mentioned that Campbell was warming up. He's warming up with Mark Malone.
Yeah, I'm just looking down there right now, and he is. And And it appears to be Malone who will come in because Malone has Sweeney catching Campbell's passes and then just handing the ball back to him, even though both have their helmets on. There's Malone. 3rd down and 1. Winder fights his way for the first.
Good hard running by Winder. Getting a block from Brian and Cooper. And they've been using him almost exclusively on the ground game.
Enough for the first down, barely, but he keeps it going, and the ball is at the 45 as you look over the shoulder of Lewis Lips. Pittsburgh offensive unit waiting to get back in, but the Broncos have other ideas at the outset of the 3rd period as Elway escapes the tackle and throws and has Clarence Kay wide open. He gets inside the 20. The tight end is inside the 15. Down he goes at the 11-yard line, run down by Harvey Clayton. So Clarence Kay for the 2nd time tonight wide open.
That's what Elway can do for you. Watch him spin away when a lot of quarterbacks would have gone down by the safety blitz. Donnie Shell, he spun out and quickly had his composure back together again. He finds Kay, and Kay takes a play that could have been a sack back in midfield all the way to the 11-yard line. That is the extra bonus and plus you get with an athletic John Elway.
1st and 10. Broncos at the 11. Opening drive of the 2nd half. 10:20 to go, 3rd quarter. Sewell carries down the tailback spot, and the versatile one takes it to the 10 for a gain of 1, and it'll be 2nd down and 9. Now I know why Campbell was shaking his head when we had the handheld on him. He was saying, no, I'm not coming in. I'm just warming Malone up.
He tried to tell us. Elway now, he'll come back with the pass. He's going to put Watson out to the left. Watson is very good down in the end zone. But he also has the big tight end that they like to go to, Clarence Kay. Not often used as a receiver, but he's good down here.
2nd down and 9, and Elway fires in behind the intended receiver, Sampson. He's covered on the play by Eric Williams. So it'll be 3rd down and 9 from the 10-yard line.
Elway had to release that, and there was good coverage by Williams, but Elway felt the pressure and turned it loose. Danny Reeves, by the way, handles the offensive calls. He is working with Mike Shanahan, the offensive coordinator, up in the booth. Elway very happy to have the plays called in, very satisfied with that situation, according to Reeves.
Good time for an option pass. You never know what the Broncos are liable to try. Here comes Sewell in motion. He can throw him, but he's going into the pattern this time. Elway to the screen for Wilhite. Incomplete. Good pressure that time put on by the Steelers, forcing the issue. 4th down. On comes Karlis.
He had the right man. He wanted to get to Wilhite, and you can see that Rick Woods tried to get back into the coverage. That was his man. Wilhite all the way. Elway read it beautifully and just did not put it where it should have been. That was 6 points as Woods was coming up, and it was read well by Wilhite. He got to the outside. Elway just didn't get it there.
The backup QB, Gary Kubiak, comes in to hold, and he'll spot it down at the 18-yard line. 28-yard chip shot for Rich Karlis. So the Broncos on a long drive and what figured to be an easy 3. And the next thing you know, back come the Steelers. Still down by only 7.
High snap, but they were able to get it down. Wheel, the punter had it down in time, and they missed from close in. By Seattle. They have had little or no offense here tonight. They had one opening drive against Seattle that took them to the 6-yard line. They failed to score on that. And other than that, they in their final preseason game against the Giants, they were ineffective. So they're on a 3-game roll.
On 1st down, play fake, Malone to the air, and it is caught for a 1st down at the 34 by John Stallworth. So a promising beginning on Pittsburgh's first drive of the 3rd period.
This is what really puzzles you, because you have Stallworth on one side, Louis Lips on the other side, and every now and then it works like a clock. He had good protection, did Mark Malone. Stallworth runs brilliant patterns. He was wide open, and you would think you could just move right down the field, but that has not been the case tonight. There have been drop balls. Malone has underthrown, overthrown, and they just have not generated any kind of a drive.
First down from the 35-yard line, and Malone to the air again, throwing to the right side. Man is open. First down, 48. Lewis lips. Lou goes the crowd.
This is what you should expect from these two outside receivers. Two perfectly timed plays and 2 first downs. Louis Wright again, the defender, but you just have to respect Lips going deep. Wright went to a full sprint with him. Lips planted the foot, came back. He was wide open. You're not going to cover him one-on-one if your quarterback has time to throw the football, and they're giving Malone time to throw the football.
First and 10, Pittsburgh at the 47-yard line. Denver ahead, 7-0, 8 minutes to go in the third. And Malone throws complete to Erenberg, slight shoulder separation and all, and he takes it to the 43-yard line, stopped there by Tom Jackson. By the way, as you look into the middle of that Pittsburgh line tonight, and you see something unusual, and 51, Dan Turk is the center. You know who's always there, of course, is Mike Webster, who hadn't missed a game since 1974, but he's on the injured reserve list with a dislocated elbow after playing in 177 straight.
And Greenstra, the rookie first-round draft pick at left guard, his first start of the year.
Second down and 6. A little looking, and it's complete to Lewis Lips and a first down. And the crowd finally has something to cheer about him. It's not boo, it's Lou.
It's so easy, and yet they have struggled with it, not only through the Seattle game, but the first half of tonight. Two outstanding receivers. You protect your quarterback. They're doing just that. And Lips on a simple little slant in right in front of Louis Wright, and you got another first down, and you move right down the field. But where was it earlier?
Stallworth wide left, and Lips is wide to the right from the 33-yard line. Malone playing the same hand, and this time to Erenberg at the 28-yard line for a gain of about 5. And Ricky Hundley, the linebacker, makes the tackle, and everything must hurt. Again, Erenberg with that slightly separated shoulder, but still in there.
You get the feeling that Chuck Noll at halftime put up about 4 or 5 plays and said, we're going to make these work. And what they are simple patterns to the outstanding wide receivers, Lips and Stallworth. You work Erenberg out of the backfield if you get double coverage out there, and that's all they've done, and they've marched right down the field. There's going to be nothing fancy, nothing cute. Chuck Noll wants to see the basics work.
Malone is 5 out of 5 on this drive, and they give it to Hughes, and he takes it to the 24-yard line. So they try to keep him a little honest as David Hughes, the backup running back, carries. Hughes, who was recently waived by Seattle, grew up in Hawaii, played his college ball at Boise State, and picked up by the Steelers as insurance.
We watched him a couple of times on Monday night, Al. He's had some good games for Seattle. He caught 12 passes in one game against Kansas City for a Seattle pass receiving single game record.
Third down and 1. And it's Hughes, and not this time, as he runs into the Broncos at the 25-yard line. He runs into them collectively, led by Foley and Ryan.
Oh, he's furious. And not at the call.
Meanwhile, here come Campbell and Anderson.
A beautiful drive. They get it into short yardage situation, and they didn't even come close to making that. They were beat off the line of scrimmage by a good defensive team, but it's not a dominating defensive team. Danny Reeves will tell you that. The Pittsburgh Steelers were just blown away on that one. They didn't get the offensive penetration you think you should get. Certainly when you're trying to keep your one drive of the night alive is Harden, where Denver is slow getting up, the defensive cornerback. He looks to be all right, however. So you have to bring out the place kicker, and for what appears to be settling for 3 points instead of trying to keep a 7-point drive alive.
Gary Anderson, who has led the AFC in scoring in each of the last 3 years, has missed a 50-yarder tonight. This is his second attempt. It comes at an angle. It'll be spotted at the 33. 43-yard kick. Campbell holding. Snap good, shows the placement. Kick is deep enough, and the kick is perfect. And finally, after, let's see, it would be 100 minutes and 6 seconds, the Steelers score.
He knew right away he's perhaps the best in the game today, Gary Anderson, or he certainly will be when he kicks 5 more and gets to qualify for all-time percentage of accuracy leader.
When it comes time to take your business on the road, some weighty problems can arise. Information can disappear, time can be lost in the shuffle, and productivity can take a tumble. Presenting the IBM PC Convertible, a powerful personal computer that easily converts to a full-function portable. An IBM PC you can use on a train, a plane, at home, even in your car. It runs many of today's most popular business programs and is available with a modem to let you communicate with other computers and a snap-on printer to let you print reports on the spot. All to make you a big deal on the road and a big hit back in the office. The IBM PC Convertible. One computer for people who really need 2. See your authorized dealer or call IBM.
This is Jeep's all-new 4-liter 6-cylinder engine. It has sequential multi-point electronic fuel injection. It puts out 173 horsepower and 220 foot-pounds of torque. But most important, if you put this new engine in a Jeep Cherokee or a Jeep Comanche, you're going to see more speed and power than you've ever seen from vehicles like this. Just remember where you saw it first.
The Cincinnati Bengals, guided by the hot hand of Boomer Esiason. The Cleveland Browns. Bernie Kosar hopes he can match the firepower. An ABC Thursday night NFL special.
Al Michaels and Frank Gifford in Pittsburgh as Anderson kicks off in a beauty.
He pumped up.
So after his 42-yard field goal, the Denver Broncos take over at their own 20-yard line, 1st and 10. And here comes Elway. You know, Frank, we talked about obviously what a great athlete he is, and I think most people know Elway was drafted by the New York Yankees and spent 1 season playing minor league baseball. Of course, opting for football, but there's an interesting little thing. Elway and Dan Marino, of course, coming out of the same football draft in 1983, but they were in another draft as well. On 1st down from the 20-yard line, Elway sets up the screen, and it's Mark Jackson, the rookie, who takes it out past the 30, and a nice move as he gets it out to the 37-yard line. So Mark Jackson out of Purdue, stopped by Mike Merriweather.
Good speed, Mark Jackson. He just does not have the experience, and when Vance Johnson went down a week ago, they felt they better come back with Clint Sampson, who had worked on the flanker side, and they moved him over. But they want to take a long look at this youngster, a rookie 6th-round draft pick with the good speed and obviously some pretty heady running. Thinks when he runs, and he gets the 1st down out of the 37.
1st and 10 Broncos from the 37-yard line as they had Watson in the backfield, send him in motion, and a quick toss out here to Tony Bodie out of the USFL, who makes his 1st run of the night. Good for a couple. Anyway, Frank, in the 1979 baseball draft, this is now, Jay Schrader, who's now the Washington quarterback, was picked in the 1st round by the Toronto Blue Jays. And there it is, Dan Marino. People forget about this. The Royals picked him in round 4. John Elway was picked in the 18th round, opted not to sign. And look at the bottom of the graphic. All those guys were picked ahead of Don Mattingly.
Comes around, goes around. Wide open Watson.
2nd down, and it's complete to the 45, and a 1st down as Harvey Clayton is covering on the play.
Clayton, who was severely beaten by Watson earlier on a 21-yard touchdown catch, well, he's just giving up too much ground. Clayton's a better football player than he's giving himself credit for. He was off Watson by about 8 or 10 yards. You don't even see him in the shot. Watson does not have that kind of speed. You don't have to worry about Watson going that deep. He'll go deep, but I mean, you can run with him. He was so far off him, he's just terrified of Watson after getting turned around on that zig out that Watson put on him for the touchdown. The only touchdown of the game. He knows it also.
Meanwhile, David Little, linebacker, shaken up on the play. He's interchangeable with Dennis Winston, who's in there right now. 1st and 10. Denver at the Pittsburgh 43. Sewell in motion. Double reverse. Sewell to the 43-yard line.
Winston followed that all the way from his inside linebacking position. But these are good plays to run, particularly when you have a lead. It keeps the defense honest. It keeps the pursuit down. You bring it back, and gadget plays are cute and fun, but they are also meaningful. You take everything to the right, and you don't do something to bring it back, you're going to have that constant pursuit, and it's hard to turn the corner. You do that once or twice, and the pursuit is going to think. The defense is going to hesitate just a moment, and that's what happened there.
2nd and 10, contact made. I think I said double reverse. It was a single reverse, of course. Mattingly's name appeared, and I thought about
number
doubles.
98 defense. Still 2nd down.
Gerald Williams with the encroachment. Clock stopped right now. It's been a fast quarter. 1:53 to play in the 3rd. Broncos on top 7-3.
Good to know they can play a fast quarter.
Yeah, that's
All
right.
you need to do is keep a drive alive, and we'll get out of here by midnight.
We were sure beginning to wonder, weren't we?
These things are turning into brunch.
Will Hyde in motion, and Winder through the middle, charging ahead, close to a first. He takes it to the 33-yard line. Sammy Winder trying to get the tough yardage. He was very instrumental on their drive that culminated in the only touchdown of the game, a pass to Watson in the 2nd quarter. Winder, going back to last season and coming into tonight's game, had averaged only 2.8 yards per rush in his last 8 games. So the Broncos trying to get things in gear on the ground because he's their prime man. 3rd and a yard. Fake to Winder. Look, and he's got Sewell wide open for a touchdown. Oh, talk about beautiful ball handling. That play almost looked like it was in slow motion as you watched it with a naked eye.
Great call coming down from the box to Dan Reeves. Mike Shanahan, we assume, called for the fake play action. Well hidden by Elway, just like he did a week ago when he went in for that touchdown pass. He handed off to Sewell. It sort of slumped out to the sidelines before he put on the sprint. But look how open he is, and what a nightmare of a night it is for Harvey Clayton. Watson has been spinning him like a top, and this time he was looking at Elway, read Elway's fake, and Sewell went right by him. It's going to be a tough day at the movies with a videotape for Harvey Clayton tomorrow.
Karlis with the extra point. It was great watching that play. It's as if all of the action just froze outside of Elway and Sewell, and of course Clayton in futile pursuit. Broncos now lead 14-3.
All right, Sam, you all right?
On a 12-yard run, the other a 2-yard run. He catches one tonight, and Karlis kicks off with Denver ahead 14-3, and it's a short kick, and it's fielded up at the 14-yard line by Warren Seitz, a tight end by trade and sometime running back, as was the case briefly in Seattle last week, out to the 27.
Now, John Elway is off to a tremendous start. Last week he was 21 of 35, 240 yards, 239 yards against the Raiders. No interceptions, a couple of touchdowns. He's already 19 of 34 tonight, 227 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Hard to say just how good this youngster can be.
We'll see it one more time on a Monday. We have Denver at the Jets in October. Malone on 1st down from the 27-yard line, shoots one out, nowhere. Lips was sort of in the neighborhood, sort of.
Well, they are booing. He was open, but what Malone saw was double coverage out there, and he had double coverage. He had Wright underneath, and he had Dennis Smith deep. Malone saw it. I guess maybe at this point, the way things have gone last week and thus far tonight, he's a little bit gun-shy. He could have got it in there, but he would have taken a very confident quarterback, and I don't think that's what he is right now. He's a shaken quarterback.
2nd and 10 from the 27-yard line. Erenberg breaks the tackle and turns it into a nice little gain out to the 32-yard line, but he still comes up about 5 yards shy. In a way, though, Frank, you could really see this coming when we saw the Steelers in preseason, even though on the night we caught them, they scored a lot of points against Dallas, but you knew they were very concerned about the offense. They had the talent outside, but the other parts, the other component parts, were worrying them.
And they had the injuries. They now have the injured players back, particularly Abercrombie and Pollard. They're playing better. They have Bory's back. Rinstra, their rookie, is playing, but they have not played long enough together to be effective. Beginning of this season, the banner says, what about Campbell? Scott Campbell they're talking about, a 6-foot quarterback out of Purdue that ranks only behind Mark Herman up there. He started a couple of games last year, did Scott Campbell, who a lot of people would like to see come into this game now, relieving Mark Malone. He started the Redskin and Giants game, and he lost both of those games. I think Chuck, again, is worried about the fragility of the ego and the emotions of Mark Malone. He wants to go with him as long as he can.
On 3rd and 5, it is complete to the 40-yard line to Weegee Thompson, and that's only the second time in 11 attempts that the Steelers tonight have converted on 3rd down. So they keep the drive going on the initial play of the 4th quarter.
And behind Mark, Scott Campbell would be Bubby Brister, a rookie out of Northeast Louisiana. We saw him down in Dallas. Al, it appeared while he has talent, he's got a lot to learn.
And he has his backers. From the 41-yard line. Malone throwing for Lips, who had fallen down, gets back up, makes the catch, gets to the 41. He had slipped to his knees, had Lips, and he got back up and still makes the catch.
That'll tell you how open he was. The flag is down. And we're going to have a holding call, but it's worth looking at again as Louis Lips works Louis right to the inside, slips wide open. Louis again respecting that speed, and a holding call is going to bring it all back. When the wheels come off, they all come off.
Back to the 31-yard line, so the 10-yard penalty. 1st and 20. Stallworth wide left and Lips wide right. Hughes and Abercrombie are the setbacks behind Malone. 4-man rush, and Malone throws into a lot of traffic and gets it there anyway to the 47 to John Stallworth, throwing it over 2 Broncos and another Steeler and into the arms of number 82. It'll be 2nd down and 5.
He was actually, I think, throwing to the tight end. Guitard. Wilson loses Stallworth as he breaks back inside of him. Guitard even, I think, got a finger on that ball. So, very fortunate reception for the Steelers.
2nd down and 4 from the 47. For Stallworth, and he's
the flag on that.
Steve Wilson, little doubt about it. Wilson almost piggybacking him.
One way to cover him. Having a tough time otherwise. Made Wilson look to the outside, broke it to the inside. He knew he was beaten.
Pass interference. Automatic 1st down.
Wilson had a handful of him, and he knew he was beaten. He was beaten actually to the outside. He was beaten back to the inside, so he just grabbed on, took the ride.
Well, that's not a play subject to review by the replay official, but that is what you call indisputable visual evidence.
For one and all to see.
Denver ahead 14-3. Steelers at the Bronco 43. 13-12 to go in the 4th. And incomplete over the middle, looking for Gothard, the tight end.
Just a reminder, Al, tomorrow on Good Morning America, special program coming up. David Hartman talks with President Corazon Aquino about the future of the Philippines and its importance to our country. So watch David tomorrow. His report from the Philippines on Good Morning America.
Pittsburgh, second down and 10 at the Denver 43-yard line. 13:08 to play in the fourth. Broncos trying to go 2-0. Steelers, of course, coming in 0-1. Malone steps up, throws, complete at the 30-yard line. He's got Stallworth there for a first down. First and 10 at the 30.
Steve Wilson again. And this time Steve is slow getting up. But again, when you're covering a legend, it is difficult. And Steve Wilson has had his problems tonight, just as Harvey Clayton has had his troubles for Pittsburgh.
So an injury timeout. It comes with 12:50 to go in the fourth in Pittsburgh, where the Broncos lead 14-3. They trail 14-3, first and 10 from the 30. Malone fakes to use, lost it for Lips, who gets tied up, and no flag. And it looked for a moment as if one of the officials began to reach for it and then thought otherwise. Louis Wright is there with Louis Lips.
Louis Wright did a good job on Louis Lips. Got in that 5-yard area, hammered him around. He released that after he had been with him for 5 yards. Malone, under pressure, had to throw the football. And Louis Wright's been around a while. And Lips got a little bit of a lesson there. That could have been a sixer had he been able to get to the outside and got into the sprint.
Second and 10, Pittsburgh at the Denver 30. He's looking toward Lips. He has him again. Nice catch made at the 21-yard line. Just short of the first down. It'll be 3rd and 1.
That's a good call. They come right back to Lips. Wright playing him to keep him from getting outside, so take what you can get inside, and they are using Wright almost exclusively in single coverage on his side, trying to protect over on the other side.
Now Lips and Stallworth both come out, and that tells you double tight end formation, though they do keep Thompson in the game and flank him to the left on 3rd down. 3rd and 1. Flag goes down on a busted play and a fumble and a loose ball, and it looks like the Broncos have it. But let's see about the penalty. Louis Wright has the football, but the official has the decision here. The recovery is made, however, offside against Denver.
Let's take a look at it again. Is there movement at the lower right?
Defensive left end.
He means Jim Ryan, 50.
And they keep the drive alive. Ryan playing the short yardage, beat the count, and the Steelers keep it alive.
It's their deepest penetration of the night as they drove to the 25 the last time they had the football. Anderson kicked a 42-yarder. Now they're at the 16. 11:28 to play in the fourth. That's Lips at the 9-yard line. Wright making the stop. So Lips and Stallworth so instrumental here in the second half after being so relatively silent in the first half, and they've basically forgotten about Abercrombie and Pollard, and they've been going with Erenberg and Hughes for better blocking, and occasionally going to the tight end, and at least they've been able to move the football with some authority in the second half.
Louis Wright is covering Louis Lips individually, and that is a tough role. He's done a good job. He's been close. Malone has had some good shots into him. That's Stallworth up at the top of your screen. He has the wide side of the field.
Hughes on 2nd and 2. He gets to the 7. It'll be 3rd and 1. He is stopped in the middle by Greg Cragen.
Here's where that Bronco defense is tough. We've watched them year in and year out as we look at Chuck Noll. We'd love to see that first touchdown of the season go up on the board, but they seem to always come up with the fumble. They get the turnover. They do something down here that is wildly unusual. I think what we're looking at is a double play situation. If they don't make it on this down, if they run the ball, and they're not going to, they would come back and go on 4th down.
Erenberg can't handle it at the 5-yard line, and they have to go for it with 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. They're down by 11, which means you're down by 2 touchdowns.
That one also should have been caught. Difficult catch, but it was a catch that could have been made, and it could have been a first down.
When I say you're down by 11 and down by 2, that's in essence what you're down by with 10 minutes to go. You need 2 touchdowns. A touchdown and a field goal, You got to get into the end zone twice. So it's 4th and 1, and they're compelled to go for it. And they give it to Erenberg to the outside. He has it, and he has the touchdown.
That's just a good read by Erenberg. Louis Wright got inside Erenberg. Instead of taking it off tackle, read it, broke it to the outside, and gets the Steelers on the scoreboard. That caught inside. The contained man was Louis Wright. And Erenberg read it well, got to the outside, and gets the touchdown.
So it's 14-9 going on 10 with Anderson, who has kicked 121 straight. He hasn't missed an extra point in 3 years.
Whoa, he came close. That was a bad snap.
But Campbell was able to get it down. Nice move by Scott. 14-10, Denver leading it with 9:54 remaining in the fourth. The Steelers finally score a touchdown.
Good receiver out of the backfield. He used to run back kicks. Good running back. You saw that a moment ago. And has given the Steelers team new life.
And worth noting again, we've mentioned it, now that he scored the TD, he's playing with a separated shoulder, is Erenberg.
He's tough.
Taken 2 yards deep in the end zone by Ken Bell, the rookie. And he's hit hard as he brings it out to the 21-yard line, and the crowd is really pumped up now. Greg Carr makes the tackle. So 14-10, and here come the Broncos with 9:45 remaining in the fourth.
And you've got a fired-up defense. This defense has played well all night. The criticism, of course, had to go to the offense that really came out and played a much better brand of football here in the second half, with Malone firing strikes to his outside receivers, getting good running from Erenberg, getting Erenberg on the passing situation, a totally different team offensively here in the second half. But the defense has been steady throughout the game, and they have kept the Steelers in it. 9:45 remaining. They have a shot at it.
1st and 10, Denver from the 21. Upstairs goes Elway. A little flip out here to Gerald Wilhite. He's going to throw the football. Watson's wide open, and the Broncos have done it again.
No, that was a pass back there.
But they're going to rule it a forward pass. A forward pass and no throw allowed by Wilhite. That's the ruling. And Elway is saying, what are you talking about? And now the crowd senses it.
You think the video will come into operation very shortly?
You know, you wondered about the play in the 49er Ram game yesterday. Everybody's talking about the pass at the end. What about the shovel on the return?
Pass, number 47, 2 forward passes.
All right, you judge here.
I thought it was instantly by the naked eye. And now I don't.
I'm not so sure about
questionable.
that. Well, is he across the line of scrimmage? No. Is it it looked like it was a lateral. Take another look here. All right, the line of scrimmage is the 21. That's one thing you have to keep in mind, too. Elway goes back to the 13 and a half. He throws to the 12. And Wilhite is at the 15. Even though he came forward, he's behind the line of scrimmage.
I'm sure they are ruling it that it was a double pass. And it would be very close. Apparently, we're not even going to look at it on video.
It is 2nd down and 10 from the 21-yard line. Elway throwing, and that's Wilhite, and he's out of bounds at the 27. We'll check with the replay booth for you, because as we go along here, there are plays that are and are not under the jurisdiction. As Elway definitely throws a lateral, there's no way that's a forward pass, and Wilhite is behind the line of scrimmage here at the 15.
We'll try and get it cleared up for you, whether or not they said he was beyond the line of scrimmage, which he was not, or whether the pass was a double pass and it appeared to be, but again, we're looking at it from an angle. It could have been very obvious to the official that it was a double pass.
I think what's happening here is that the umpire and the referee are together. They couldn't stop the play before that last play. I can tell you exactly what I think is happening. All of a sudden, he got buzzed. There's a beeper, and he was told, and sure enough, there's the walkie-talkie, but they got the play off before they were able to stop it. Here's what they saw.
They are seeing it with the same angle, and they're going to rule it 2 forward passes. And we are again, this is why video replays are always going to be questionable. This is an angle that the officials are looking at, just as you looked at. Well, our understanding, the ruling was 2 forward passes.
Well, here is the oddity right here. Here's where this is different than any other. You're supposed to come up with a ruling before the next play, and obviously they are talking about this right now, but there has been a play run in the meantime. Meanwhile, here's Elway. There's no doubt this is not a forward pass. That's a lateral.
What do they do about
pass.
the timing? They've run another play already.
Now he's well behind. He's 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Remember the deep drop by Elway. There's Watson for the touchdown. They've already run an intervening play. Of all the things we thought could happen, well, I suppose everybody did fear that something like this, or if you were in the league office, you feared that something like this might take place.
And it just took place. And they are going to rule it is 3rd down, so what appeared to be obvious to us a lateral, and again we're looking at it at an angle, and it was called a double pass. He most certainly was not over the line of scrimmage. That was obvious.
Well,
play continues.
We'll get it clarified for you. 3rd down and 4. Wilhite dropping the snap, and it looked like Wilhite was about to cut in front of Elway. I don't know whether it was planned that he would take the snap and run with it or just what, but they're lucky that he recovers.
That has got to be very disturbing, and it'll be even more so when Danny Reeves looks at the replay. Again, this is the major concern of the video replay. They do not have, they saw exactly what you saw, and we were looking at it from an angle. It did, however, appear to be a lateral.
Well, they probably agree that it was a legal play. The problem is that they had run the intervening play. They'd run the play after that. Jack Wheel to kick from the 10-yard line. From the 39, it's Rick Woods on a fair catch right there.
One thing that is glaringly obvious that the video replay is not the ultimate solution.
Not hardly, as the saying goes. Not yet, anyway. 14-10 Denver. Denver ahead 14-10. Pittsburgh at its own 39-yard line in what's become a very controversial game, and will be triply so if Pittsburgh wins. Little screen set up for David Hughes, who gets a nice block and gets bumped out of bounds after he crosses the 50 and a 1st down. Now, we checked with the replay booth. Paul Trapinski is the replay official. He agreed it was a legal play, and the problem was, as you'll see right here, it's a legal play in every aspect. It's a backward pass, and then Wilhite does not go past the line of scrimmage, and the problem was they weren't sure in the replay booth what was the call on the field, and in the meantime, they let the Broncos run another play off, and by that time, it was too late to overrule it.
And Denver loses a 79-yard touchdown.
They sure did. 1st and 10 from the 49-yard line. Malone back and throwing over the middle, and a flag goes down, and it's incomplete. The pass intended for Stallworth, covered by Hundley on the play. And it's against Denver. Holding. 8:20 to play in the 4th. Here's the call from McElwee.
Number 52 defense, 5 yards, automatic 1st down.
Well, you know, it's funny. We started to talk about it, Frank, yesterday in the Rams-49ers game. There was a play at the end of the game involving whether or not the defensive back had made contact with Bobby Duckworth. The Rams wind up kicking the field goal anyway, but I thought more importantly in that game, and there is Reeves, and you know he's angry because he knows what's going on. He's really angry, right? He's angry about that call. He's angry about a lot of things. But on the return yesterday by the Rams, there should have been a question about whether that was a forward pass or not. From the 44-yard line, it's Lips to the 35-yard line. He's stopped there by Steve Wilson. Lou goes the chant again.
They have moved Wilson over to the left side. The Denver Broncos have. They have Mike Harden working over on the right side. And you can't hide out there, however. The Steelers find him, meaning Steve Wilson, and they come right back and work on him once again.
Second down and 1. Lips has now caught 6 for 68 yards. So it's under his average. They're sending him on shorter routes tonight, and they're making them pay off here in the second half.
The cornerbacks are Wilson and Harden.
And he's going in Harden's direction, and incomplete as Harden and Stallworth were hung up on the play, and Malone can't believe he didn't get the call as he goes right up to the side judge, Royal Cathcart.
And Malone might have had an argument. They had moved Harden over to the right side, replacing Wilson, but they come back against Harden. Single coverage. Stallworth is right there, and contact made. And they are allowing so much more today on the part of the cornerbacks. There's no question a couple of years ago that would have drawn an instant flag, any kind of contact, but you can move them around out there a little more.
Third down and 1. 3 tight end setup. Thompson goes in motion as he serves as the H-back, and Hughes scrambles, and with that second effort, bursts forward, loses the football, and Denver gets it back.
That's Denver defense. They do it over and over and over. They strip the ball better than any team probably in football today.
And that silences this throng with 7:24 to go in the fourth. Hughes picked up from Seattle again because of the problems Abercrombie and Pollard have had physically. They look for reserve help, and falling on the football, recovering it, is Mike Harden, number 31.
If he breaks that to the outside, he not only gets the first down, he probably gets good yardage. He put the head down, closed the eyes, and ran right into the stack. Could have been an easy first down to the outside.
Broncos at their own 35-yard line. They lead 14-10.
I'd love to run some time off that clock.
And they start with Wilhite, who normally is in there to catch passes, and they send him up the middle to the 39-yard line. Either catch or throw passes. Gain of 4, second down and 6. Well, that was one of the problems that
that's going to be all year long. You get the feeling, don't you?
The league had thought about, and that is what happens if that intervening play gets run. And once that next play is run before you have a chance to determine whether or not you want to overrule a call, it's too late, folks. Second down and 6 from the 39-yard line. And Steve Sewell moves ahead for a couple. Kenny Wolf, our producer, makes a good point. What about if the coach is in question to call a timeout to allow the replay booth more time?
Or they have the capabilities of buzzing the official on the field, and then they have the capability of talking with him.
But the buzz came too late.
And you can't take the seconds off the clock. You can't take away the 7-yard pickup that was made by Wilhite. It has some bugs in it, to say the least. And again, those angles are very deceptive.
But not on that play. Third down and 1. Sammy Winder is stopped back of the line of scrimmage, and a flag goes down. Edmund Nelson, number 64, is there. Penalty marker is down.
It's going to be against the Steelers.
Ooh, and that's a first down. So instead of having to punt, they keep the football with 6:01 to play in the fourth.
Offside, left tackle, first down.
Steelers have been plagued with that all night long, and this really comes at a tough time. They would have gotten the football back in fairly good field position.
He said left tackle. I think that was Keith Gary, 92. First and 10 from the 49-yard line. Sewell is the man in motion, and Winder gets across the 50 to the 49-yard line for a gain of about 2. Each team, as we head down toward the final minutes with all of their timeouts remaining and a little shoving going on with Will Height. So Pittsburgh tonight, and then across the border to Ohio, where the Bengals meet the Browns in Cleveland on Thursday. Be with us at 8 Eastern time.
And a week from tonight, Green Bay and Chicago. Our first look this year at Chicago.
On 2nd and 8, Elway gets it off, throws to one of his linemen, and the flag goes down.
He Billy Bryan right in the head.
It was Keith Bishop, the man that he was in the area, but unfortunately for the Broncos, he ineligible.
Illegal pass. Hit number 54 on the offense behind the line. Loss of down.
Got to liberalize this game. Let these guys who do all the work catch the ball once in a while. Takes such discipline to put those hands down. Elway under a lot of pressure that time.
Reeves with a backup quarterback, Kubiak, and Elway was able to seize the moment to confer orally with him as the penalty was marched off. And it will be 3rd down, 8.
Watson going out to the right. There is no penalty with that. It's just a loss of down, which is a penalty in itself.
Elway for Sampson, who's in front, and Sampson cannot make the catch. Sampson had beaten his man.
Tripped on the seam at first base, I think, Al.
He had taken Harvey Clayton, and it's very possible. They have the seams over the infield cutouts right here, and we'll take a look.
Clayton will not sleep much tonight. Tried to get back inside. Again, a strong arm effort by Elway just to flip that ball about 50 yards and still didn't get it deep enough. Sampson had Clayton.
So Pittsburgh will get it back as they hold near midfield. Rick Woods is back there to receive. And Jack Wheel to kick. 4:53 left in the 4th. Broncos on top 14-10 and should be on top 21-10.
Almost appeared as if the officials were consulting a video replay for something on that play. They huddled together, held up play for several seconds, and then let it go.
So Wheel to kick. He's back at his own 35. Angles it. And it hits out of bounds before bouncing back in. And they'll mark it at the 17. 4:45 to go. Steelers trail by 4.
Consent of the National Football League is strictly prohibited.
So here are the Steelers now at their own 17-yard line, 1st and 10. They trail by 4. 4:45 to go in the 4th. They have all of their timeouts remaining. As they commence this drive, Malone goes behind Erenberg, who was covered, and it's 2nd down and 10.
They'd like to have that back. They had no checkoff at all out. They had the 2 wide outs. Stallworth and Lips were both deep. They were both covered. He had no place to put it. Erenberg had not even turned around to look back at Malone.
2nd and 10. Ball just outside the 17. Broncos on top 14-10. Stallworth left, Lips right.
They have to go to Stallworth and Lips. They have been working those outside cornerbacks all night long.
He's looking for Stallworth and throws an interception at the 35-yard line. Tony Lilly was there. Tony Lilly.
Denver finally got into double coverage on both outside men. Lilly was inside of Harden. Over on the other side, they were also double covering. And Malone did go to try to get it to Stallworth, and Lilly picked it off. He had Harden on his outside. He had Lilly on the inside. And poorly thrown football and picked off by Tony Lilly.
Tony Lilly, tank top and all.
Getting better every game, too. He is really putting the pressure on Steve Foley, the 11-year veteran at that free safety position.
First down, Denver at the 31-yard line. Will Height in motion, and Winder takes it through the middle. Remember, last year Denver won 11 games and didn't make the playoffs, and the Cleveland Browns, who won 8, were in there because of the playoff process. And I was just thinking, if Denver were to lose this game, could you imagine in a situation as we had tonight, if the Steelers were to come from behind? It would be the toughest loss of all, to think that you had a situation where, because of the implementation of the replay, they were denied a touchdown. And it's interesting, so much made about indisputable visual evidence, what is, what isn't. There are a lot of bugs in what amounts to the implementation of the process as well.
And what happens, Al, is just what happened tonight is what would have happened without the replay. Except we were just aware through the replay that it should have been used.
Winder picks up a couple and takes the ball to the 23-yard line as the Broncos try to chew up the clock, which is now down to 3:28 and ticking. It's funny, the Broncos, it's ironic, the Broncos were one of 4 teams to vote against the replay system this year. Just for the record, the Giants, the Cardinals, the Bronx, and the Chiefs voted against it, and the Steelers abstained.
Clairvoyance.
To the 20 goes Winder, and he should have the first down. So Sammy with a tough yardage here, and we'll see where they mark it. It's going to be very close. They need to get to the 21. Enough. First down.
You know, Al, you talked about looking back at the end of the year. The schedule for both these teams is really a tough one. This Sunday on a short week, the Denver Broncos go home, then they come back and play in Philadelphia, and they also have a tough test of teams out of their division. They play the Giants, they play Dallas, they play Washington, and they also play the Jets. So it's not an easy road to another 11-5 season, and a really tough one to what they did in '84 when they were 13-3.
One thing in their favor, though, last year they were basically kept out of it by those 2 OT losses to the Raiders, and they've already taken care of the Raiders.
And Washington helped out by beating the Raiders. Of course, there still is Seattle. Seattle is going to be tough, and of course, San Diego.
Down to 2 seconds and 1 second before Elway gets the snap off to Winder. Elway with great presence of mind right there. Let the clock run all the way down to 1 second. Had the ball snapped, gave it to Winder, and now unless the Steelers want to stop it, and they do, they'll take their timeout right here, their first of 3. So they'll take the timeout here, get the next break, get the 2-minute warning, and we've got 2:17 left on the clock. Tonight on Nightline, the new drug law proposals. Is the concern over drugs causing us to go too far? That is the subject tonight on Nightline, following your late local news.
I mentioned the Denver schedule out of their division. Now the Steelers don't have it much easier. They meet teams like the Bears. They also play New England. They have the Jets on their schedule as well as their Central Division. This Sunday, the Steelers will be at Minnesota, while Denver, as I mentioned, will be at Philadelphia. Danny Reeves done a great job bringing along John Elway.
UCLA or USC against Baylor.
Wait a minute.
Sorry, Trojans.
One's private and one's public.
Yeah. And Clemson, Georgia are our 2 presentations for you Saturday at 3 Eastern time.
I mentioned Danny Reeves, and the way he has brought along John Elway, I guess, is not too big a task, because everyone knew exactly what he was when Baltimore drafted him #1 back in 1983, and Denver acquired him for some other expensive draft picks. What did they give? First, a couple of firsts, I guess, for him to bring him to Denver. But they knew they had a talent. It was just kind of in a raw form, as any quarterback coming into this league as a rookie, they're going to be raw. They just do not learn the same things at the collegiate level.
Isn't that always the situation? You're a Superman, and then you become the savior of a franchise, and the fans get impatient. And Elway, I believe, made his professional regular season debut in this ballpark. Yeah, had a terrible day.
They've got it figured out. They're just going to cover up the football. Steelers have 2 timeouts remaining, and the 2-minute warning will also stop the clock.
Second down, call it 6 at the 17-yard line. Elway saying, go in motion. Somebody missed the call. You can see him stamping like a horse as Wilhite takes it to the 13-yard line, and somebody wasn't on the same page in the Bronco huddle.
I think it was Sewell, the wingback. Elway wanted him to come in motion, and now Elway's giving him a little bit of a lecture there.
You saw his foot moving, and that tells the man, get in motion, which he never did.
He says, come on, let's go. You couldn't hardly miss it, could you?
That's almost illegal procedure. We've got the 2-minute warning. Reeves and the Broncos holding on, 14-10. Denver on top, 14-10. 2 minutes to go. It is 3rd down and a long yard at the 13 for Denver. Elway sends Sewell in motion. He got his drift that time, and then Elway to Winder out in front, and Winder goes in for the score. So the Steelers compressing the middle, and the Broncos go to the outside on a 3rd and 1.
2 short yardage plays that look for sure to be running plays, and a pair of touchdowns for the Broncos.
22.
Good play calling on the sidelines. Dan Reeves sending it in. Of course, I think Mike Shanahan, the offensive coordinator, having a lot to do with it. Good play action right here. Stuck it in, gave it a good hand, and wide open. Elway didn't fool around with it. He got it out there quickly, and Donnie Shell just overran it.
Elway, 3 touchdown passes tonight.
What a start for the season after last week. 21 of 35, 239 yards and a couple of touchdowns and no interceptions against the Raiders. Big start.
And a touchdown catch as well, as Karlis' kick is good.
Sammy Winder, and he made it look like a running play as he says hello to everyone back in Mississippi.
He looks like he plays in the National Hockey League.
Put the hand in there, and Elway read it right away. It's a good thing he did, because he had a defensive end right in his face that was totally unattended. Realign your shock absorbers if you don't get rid of it. Two short yardage plays. Steelers thinking run all the way, and Denver gets a pair of touchdowns. They're going to be strong, the Broncos.
You know what? They're fun to watch, too. It's an interesting team. Yep. They run enough. They run enough gadgets.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Janet. Hi, Jesse.
And all the above.
What about Dad? Dad and the Stanford Cardinal beating Texas the other day.
Happiness is being a winning quarterback. 2-0, throwing no interceptions in the world in front of you.
Mm-hmm. And Elway's contract doesn't hurt either.
He's always been that way. I remember when they signed him, they had the interview and he gave it the Valley Boy treatment.
Yeah, sure.
Good young man. And can he play this game?
Karlis kicks off and through the end zone. So the Steelers will take over at the 20-yard line. And the Broncos will have a nice flight home, and then they'll come right back to the good old Commonwealth and go cross state to Philadelphia for the Eagles next Sunday. 31 yards in 6 plays. And for the Steelers, a regrouping and a trip to Minneapolis next Sunday for the Vikings.
Did I go get a ball?
Off to a very tough start, the Steelers. Stadium almost empty. Sellout crowd with a lot of memories of Joe Green, Terry Bradshaw, Franco Harris.
Screen to use, and he takes it out to the 30-yard line. Funny how things run in cycles for cities, too. I'm thinking about Pittsburgh right now, and the Pirates have had a bad year, and the Steelers are off to a bad start. And then there are other locales as Malone throws and Erenberg makes the catch out of the 40. But you think about New England, Frank, and the fact that in one season of sorts, the Patriots go to the Super Bowl, the Red Sox are on their way to the Eastern Division title, the Celtics, of course. And a few years back, L.A. with the Rams going to the Super Bowl, and then the Dodgers winding up in the World Series, and the Lakers having a great year, and Philadelphia in the 70s at one point with the 76ers and the Flyers, and the Eagles going to the Super Bowl, and the Phillies winning a world title. And then all of a sudden you've got that, and then you've got what you got in Pittsburgh right now.
It can change so quickly, 1 or 2 key players, and of course the 28 teams, you no longer can. If you finish on top, you have a tough time drafting. You're the champion, you're going to get the 28th player picked in the draft. The next time around, you're going to get the 56th. And it compounds itself, and that's what the Steelers were faced with a few years ago.
Well, this city has certainly seen its good times along the line that I just spoke of, when the Pirates won the World Championship in '79, and the Steelers were in the process of winning 4 Super Bowls, and the Pitt Panthers and the Tony Dorsett in the mid-'70s.
Steelers will win some football games. They're solid. They're very solid defensively. You have to question the quarterbacking. There's no way you cannot question it. Mark Malone, he's had fairly good protection. He has great outside receivers. They're just not getting the production.
Going deep and incomplete. Intended for Erenberg. Smith covering on the play. ABC's NFL Monday Night Football being produced by Ken Wolf and our director, Chet Forty. Technical director, Joe Chavo. Associate Director Newbar Stone, Rick Okolski, our technical manager, Bob Simon, our unit manager, Frank Folger, our telecommunications manager, Chaz Weissman, Bruce Clark, assistants to the producer, information and statistics from the impeccable one, Steve Hurt, and our thanks up here, as always, to Malibu Kelly Hayes for the spotting, and to George Hill, our statistician.
Got a quick look at Chuck Nolan. You have to wonder what is going through his mind. 2 down, 14 to go.
Batted away, it'll be 4th down.
Houston coming on in his own division. Cleveland very much improved, as is Cincinnati. And I mentioned earlier on their schedule out of the division, they play teams like the Bears and New England, the 2 Super Bowl teams. Could be one of your basic long years.
Watson, who got things started by catching the touchdown pass in the first half.
Watson trails only 1 receiver since 1981 in total yardage. This is a slow free agent out of Temple. That 1 receiver, a great one, I might add.
On 4th and 1, it goes to Stallworth, and he just does get the first down to keep it going.
That receiver, James Lofton of the Green Bay Packers. We'll see him a week from tonight.
Against the Chicago Bears. Clock running down, 48 seconds on first down. Penalty marker. Intended for Sweeney and picked off at the 40-yard line by Steve Foley, and he's spun out of bounds. And we've got a marker down at the 33.
Illegal use of the hands. Hands to the face, 65 offense. Penalty will be declined. First down.
And you don't even have to check with the captains for the options on that baby. And that will write a finish to this one. Ray Penny was the man, 65. There's Sweeney, the intended receiver.
Once again, Thursday night, we'll be in Cleveland, the Cleveland Browns, with Bernie Kosar against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Boomer Esiason. The happy Foley.
When you're winning, it's fun. The other side of that field is not so happy.
Goose Gonsolin, the old defensive back, has just had his record tied. 43 career interceptions. And a man on the field has more tonight, Donnie Shell with 27. Mecklenburg, the Snow Goose.
Happy on one side and all the emotions being played out on the losing side. Mark Malone with 2 games back-to-back that you could not be terribly proud of. And happiness, as I said, as a winning quarterback on a 2-0 football team with everything in your career ahead of you.
Broncos on top, AFC West along with Seattle. Steelers drop to 0-2. Al Michaels, Frank Gifford saying goodnight from Pittsburgh, where Denver has beaten the Steelers by a score of 21-10. This ABC Sports exclusive has been brought to you by Buick and your Buick dealer. For comfort, innovation, and a real commitment to quality, it's today's Buick. By Miller Lite. For great taste, there's only one light beer. By IBM and the growing family of IBM personal computers. And by Wheaties, the breakfast of champions. Energy for 100% whole wheat. Wheaties, what the big boys eat. Travel arrangements made through and promotional fee paid by United Airlines. United flies more people to Hawaii than any other airline. Nobody knows Hawaii like United. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports, recognized around the world as the leader in sports television. Good night all.